Welcome back. In the last video, we set up an action mapping so that we can fire the weapon. And with a mouse click or a squeeze of the right trigger on the console controller, we can get some text to fire to the screen. But simply printing to the output log is not enough. We want to have more effects than that. In this video, we're going to actually play a sound when we fire the weapon. Now we first need a sound asset. In order to keep our project organized, we're going to create a new folder in _game, and we're going to call this folder assets. This will be a folder for the assets that we add to the project. In the assets folder, create a new folder called sounds. And in the sounds folder, create a new folder called gunshots. This is where we'll keep all of our gunshots. Now, where are we going to get some gunshot sound assets? Well, go ahead and go to my GitHub page, which is at github.com/druidmech. Here you'll find the UE4 CPP shooter series. This is where you can actually get the game project for this series. There's a folder called assets, and in that folder is a folder called sounds. And you can download this zip here, ar15_shots.zip. This contains some gunshots. Go ahead and click on it and click download. Once you've downloaded this, you need to extract it. So go to the folder you downloaded it to and extract it. Select a location. I created a folder on my D drive called assets, and I'm going to stick it in there. Go ahead and extract. Now in my D/assets folder, I have AR-15 shots, which contains a bunch of gunshots. Now we can import these into Unreal Engine. Back in the editor, in the gunshots folder, I can click add/import and import asset, import to game. This is one way to do it. If I click this, then I can take all of these gunshots and import them in the game and click open. Another way would be to simply find the folder on your computer and drag them in like this. So either way works. Now we have these gunshots. Now AR_1 through 10 are all similar but slightly different sounding. If you hover over them, you get this play button, and if you press it, you can hear each one. Now the AR-15 generic _shot is a different sounding gunshot. We can use that when we need a different sound. But all of these 10 sound similar. Now these are sound waves, but we like to work with sound cues. We can create a sound cue from a sound wave by right-clicking and selecting Create Cue. Let's call this new sound cue AR_shot. Now open AR shot, and here we have our sound cue. And you'll see that this graph looks similar to the event graph. We can work with nodes and do a bunch of different things to alter what ultimately comes out whenever this sound cue gets played. Let's take the tab and dock it at the top here. Now we have this AR shot 1 imported into it. That's the sound wave AR shot 1, which we imported along with the others. Now we're going to highlight AR shot 2 through 10, click and drag, and come up here into AR shot, hover over the tab, and release in the graph here. And now we'll have all 10 of the AR shots. What I want to do is use all 10 of these, and each time this sound cue gets played, we're going to pick one of them at random. We can use a random node for this by dragging off of one of them and typing random, and select random. Now we're going to want 10 input pins for this random node. So click add input several times and drag each of these sound waves into the random node. Once we have all 10 plugged into the random node, we can take the output and plug that into the output node. What this does is each time this sound cue gets played, it selects a random sound wave from one of the sound waves plugged into the random node. We can click play cue several times to see it make different selections. Notice it's showing you which of the sound cues is being selected when one of the input lines gets highlighted with orange. Go ahead and click Save and close out of AR Shot. Now that we have a sound cue asset, we can go back into Visual Studio into shooterCharacter.h. Let's go ahead and add a private variable for a sound cue. We're going to forward declare this, and it's going to be of type uSoundCue. It's going to be a pointer, and we're going to call this FireSound. Now, it's going to have a U property, and in the macro, we're going to make this edit anywhere. It's going to be blueprint read write. Let's make a category called combat, where all the combat variables will go. And because this is a private variable, and we're making it edit anywhere and blueprint read write, we need the meta allow private access equals true specifier. So we'll add that as well. So we're making it edit anywhere because we want to set the sound cue in the blueprint. Now what we're going to do is in shooterCharacter.cpp, we're going to find our fire weapon function, and instead of logging to the output log, we're going to first check to see if fire sound is valid. If it is, we're going to call playSound2D, which is a static function in uGameplayStatics. So uGameplayStatics playSound2D. And we'll see right off the bat that the compiler does not recognize uGameplayStatics. But I have the Unreal Engine documentation up here, and I've searched for uGameplayStatics. And it's telling me that I can include uGameplayStatics with this include here, kismet/gameplaystatics.h. Go ahead and add that to the top of shooterCharacter.cpp. And now in FireWeapon, IntelliSense should recognize uGameplayStatics shortly. Now, I'm going to click in the parentheses and hit Control-Shift-Space, which is a Visual Studio shortcut, to see the parameters we need. Now there's a whole bunch of parameters here, but you'll see that after the first two, the rest of these have default values, so we can get away with only the first two parameters. The first is a world context object. That's just an object in the world to give the uGameplayStatics static function a sense of reference. We can use this for that. Next is the uSoundBase. Now a sound cue is derived from uSoundBase, so we can use FireSound. Now we're going to get an error here because we also need to include the header for the sound cue type. Remember, we forward declared FireSound because it's of type uSoundCue. So to include that, I'm going to bring up the documentation and search for uSoundCue. Here it is, uSoundCue, and for the include, we need sound/soundcue.h. We're already starting to see how handy the Unreal Engine documentation can be. Go ahead and include that here, and we'll scroll back down and see that now we don't have an error anymore. Let's go ahead and compile this. Now we can hop back in the editor, and the last step is to take our character, shooter character BP, and here in the details panel, in our combat category, we have fire sound. And we need to select our sound cue we just made. It's called AR shot, if you'll recall. Compile and save that. And now we can test this out. And as you can see, each time we click or squeeze the trigger, we get one of those 10 gunshots at random, which is pretty nice. Okay, so this concludes the video. We now know how to create a sound cue that can randomize sounds from different sound wave assets. And we added a private variable to our character class and exposed it to blueprints so that we could set that sound cue asset in the details panel. And we used the uGameplayStatics static function playSound2D to play the fire sound, passing in our fire sound variable. So we're starting to flesh this game out. In the next video, we're going to add some particles to our weapon firing so that we get a visual component along with the sound component. It's already starting to get more exciting. See you in the next video.